Welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our podcast on one of your favorite platforms, I'm glad you're here. At this time, I would like to thank our partners and sponsors for their dedication to helping the show to grow. We cannot do what we do without their help. You've reached the Millennium Beat with your host, Kevin James. Today, I have on the computer with me, Tisha Winkler. Tisha, thank you very much for joining me here today.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad. We met through the internet and dealing with different people about being guests, so I'm glad that I found you. So I'm interested to hear your story a little bit and what's going on in your life and what you're doing and stuff like that, and my audience will hear the same thing. So let's start from the very beginning of your life. Tell me a little bit about where you came from.
Tisha Winkler. I was born and raised in Baltimore City, and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I grew up a shy child. I had a speech impairment during an early age, and I had like a speech pathologist. I used to stutter real bad. My father divorced when I was 9 years old. So during that time, I started to get a little withdrawn from my family and friends.
Right. Yeah, that would happen. Yeah, I grew up, but I didn't have a speech impediment. I just didn't talk. Until I was 6 or 7 years old before I started speaking. And I went to doctors. I went to the throat specialist, the ear specialist, everything. And they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And what they found out later was I was spoiled. Everybody did everything for me, so I didn't need to talk. Yeah. They did it for me. But speech impediment, I used to know a millionaire that had a speech impediment, and then he got in front of speaking in front of thousands of people. I've heard of people that are singers that have speech impediments that you would never know it while they're singing, but they're when they speak, then you could hear it. So basically in our conversation, I would never have known that you had a speech impediment. What basically changed in your life to basically get rid of the speech impediment? What happened?
Well, during that time, my speech pathologist, she said I suffer from anxiety, which might really be true because I've been dealing with anxiety for over 30 years.
Oh. Yeah. That's not have anxiety for that long.
Yeah.
Did you sleep well?
I sleep well, but when I have like overwhelming things going on, I'm like,
right. Yeah, right. Your world's going, Yeah, so you're in anxiety. I mean, I don't have anxiety, but I don't sleep well. I mean, I'm up all the time, and I've learned to sleep whenever I can, because if I didn't, I'd be very cranky.
Yeah.
So the speech person helping you, it seems you've improved. I mean, you sound good today. So what else is kind of formed your life? What else has gone in your life to make you who you are today?
Well, even growing up, I had a wonderful family, loving family. I grew up very happy, but during that time, I always suffered from depression too.
Okay, anxiety plus depression.
And for years, when I was in high school, I had two best friends, and we used to go out and have a good time. But even during that time, I would be with a crowd of people and still be sad.
Right. Yeah, that happens a lot. It's funny, not funny at all, actually. It's how many times people can be in a crowd of people and still be lonely. There can be people all around them. Loneliness and depression, I mean, it's like people don't understand. Like, oh well, just make yourself happy. Depression doesn't always. It doesn't work. It's not like a light switch. Like I say, oh, I'm depressed. Oh no, I'm happy. It's just. It's not a switch. I'm not a psychologist, but there's a lot of medical reasons why some people are depressed. I mean, it could be a chemical imbalance. It could be a spiritual thing. It could be a physical thing. There's a lot going on why somebody's depressed. You just don't know. But you sought out help, so that's good. I know some people that are depressed all the time, and you just don't want to be around them. They're just depressed all the time, but they won't seek out medical help because they rather be doom and gloom, and they should be happy. And as people that are overweight, it's funny. Sometimes you can get people that are very overweight that are joyful. They're the fun of the party. And then you have some people that are overweight or they're depressed that they just beat themselves up constantly. And now, speaking of beating yourself up, did you beat yourself up because of your anxiety, your depression, or just the world beat you up? What was anything beating you up in a sense inside you?
Oh, yes, it does. Even my best friend, we've been best friends for like 32 years. Sometimes I would lash out at her sometimes, and I would feel so bad afterwards. I'm like, oh my goodness, I actually said that to her. But I just think I'm just so thankful that she knew that I was having a lot of issues and a lot of trauma, and she stuck in there with me.
Yeah, well, that is a true friend. To really kind of know you're good, but the better thing is that they know you're bad, and they just say, hey, okay, she's doing something that she normally doesn't do. She, it's just a phase or whatever. It's just something, and that's a true test of a friend. They can say they can see the good, bad, and ugly, and they still be friends with you. And it's a lot of times people will be like, oh, I don't like that. I'm out of there. I'm not going to deal with this, So that's good. And you said 32 years, so that's a pretty good long.
Since we're 13 years old.
Wow. I don't think I know this girl who her birthday was just last week. I've known her since she was 13, and she's 50 something now. So I've known her for a long time. But we weren't like best of friends, hanged out all together. She was a professional singer. She traveled and stuff like that. And I was friends with her. But we weren't like we hung out together, type of thing. But my childhood friend who went into the Navy, and I haven't really talked to him in years. I mean, God, he went, and then we were like pretty close to the same age. I always say he was with a friend that we both couldn't cross the roads together. He lived on that side of the road. I lived on this side of the road. But we were best friends all the way up through high school. I was at his wedding and stuff like that. He got married, and I've talked to him once, but that was like maybe, 15, 20 years ago. I don't know. It's been a long time. But dealing with you is it's good that you have somebody that is close to you as a friend wise and stuff like that. So what else has been going on to kind of form who you are? I mean, we talked about your depression. We talked about the anxiety. That you've come over pretty much the depression. I mean, do you still deal with that, or it's like an ongoing thing?
It's better now, but 5 years ago, I lost my mother.
I know that feeling.
Really, like triggered. Oh, I kind of like went like woo for a while until I finally realized God has a plan for my life, and
He does.
That's when my first book came out during the pandemic.
Okay. Now, I know you mentioned you have 3 books out, right? You have 3?
Yes.
So what's the first book that you said you were just talking about, the one that came out during the pandemic?
It's called Just a Thought.
Say that again?
Just a Thought is a poetry book.
Oh, Just a Thought. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, this is funny with depression, because I know there's a lot of people. I mean, look at people like Robin Williams, who you think is a comedian who was, you never thought he was depressed, and stuff like that. A lot of times people can hide it, put a mask on. You don't even recognize that they're depressed. Were you a depressed person that, was like you fell in self-included, what is it, self-exploded, or you compressed yourself to just you didn't do anything, you just basically rolled up in a ball in a sense, or were you some other form? or were you a type of person that is depressed that eats a lot? Some people that are depressed don't eat at all. I mean,
Ways.
it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Anything at all.
myself, I am not. When I'm depressed, I tend to eat more. I'm not a depressed that doesn't eat. I'm one that doesn't. It's not that way. But there are people that will starve because they're depressed. They don't really feel like eating.
Yeah.
But there's different ways of coping with that. So dealing with depression, it's funny. We're not funny again. It's not funny. The reason I say funny is because coincidence. It seems like I've been talking to a lot of mental health people lately. I just talked with a guy from Pennsylvania that works with a company called Better Health, which is a online psychologist and stuff like that. And then First something, I can't remember the title, but in general, he does that. And then I talked to somebody else that was dealing with mental health. And so what are some of the tools that helped you get over or basically work through your process of your depression or your anxiety? What are some of the tools that you used?
Well, some of my tools are actually, even my friends will tell you, I had them cracking up. You're not going to know I was a depressed person. I'm like a clown. I always wanted to be a clown. I had them cracking up. So you really wouldn't know until I tell you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So basically in school, you were voted the most likely to be a clown.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you use comedy and stuff like that, and it's different. And people, mental health is people don't talk about it. First of all, they're skeptical of sharing their innermost thoughts to somebody else. That's why psychology, believe it or not, like with BetterHelp, I just was watching a podcast today, and they were talking about that, how good it is to be able to. And these guys are actors, make millions of dollars a year. But they still see a psychologist and stuff like that because they got to talk out some of their issues. Because if you hold it in, it's gonna eat you out. It's gonna eat inside out. So, but so you were saying that how you overcame a lot of things is because your comedic nature, your clown nature.
Yes, and I like to go out and have fun with my friends. I still go to the movies. I love theater, and I do the podcast, and really brings joy to my life.
Okay, so when you mention that, what's the name of the podcast?
It's called the Coyoteman Show Network, and I'm one of the hosts of the Save the Youth podcast.
Okay, so you deal with a lot with youth then?
Yes, I do.
Now, what age is that youth? Because youth could be anywhere from born to 20 or so. I mean, what do you consider youth of that show?
Well, actually, I work with children ages 6 to 21, and I'm actually I'm a free assistant teacher in the Head Start program too. So I've been working with children all my life.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, and I find sometimes I deal with teenagers and they go through a lot. I mean, other than their hormonic changes, they're going through mental changes. Whether their parents are messed up and they're living with their grandparents, or they're just I dealt with someone locally that, it's amazing at 15 and a half years old, how much pressure she's going under because of her mother and, being in jail and blah, blah, stuff like that. It's just, you talk about anxiety and ulcers and other medical conditions, because I think a lot of times mental issues turn into physical issues.
Yes, it does.
I mean, whether it's bleeding ulcers or it's whatever. I mean, it could be a multi reason. So you're working on this podcast now. Is this a weekly podcast or a monthly? How is it? How many times does it air?
Well, actually, I go every Saturday, and it starts at 12:30. So most of the time, I plan the podcast myself. Even though I have two other hosts on the show, they're teenagers. They help me, but I do most of the scheduling. So if I don't have anything to do, most of the times I'm there 4 times a month.
4 times a month. Okay, every week. Now, is this live or is this live and pre-recorded, or what is it? Or just okay.
Yeah.
That's one thing I haven't got into is the live stuff. I mean, it's because there's a lot to go into a live show, other than just graphics. I mean, you'll know this just trying to get ready for this show. We're worrying about the cameras, the lighting, it's like you went black for a few minutes. I couldn't see you. I could hear you, but I don't know if later on it would be fixed. So live is that, and even television. I have never really done live TV. I've done pre-recorded stuff, on a computer. So like an iTunes playlist. And that's how we play our shows, whether these people are like Paula White or Joyce Meyer or anything like that. It's already pre-recorded. We have it on a server, and the computer hits automatically. Hits play at the top of the hour. Show starts. We don't even have to push any buttons. So it's got really sophisticated. So it's really nice. But so you do that, and you reach a wide audience. So that's pretty cool. So. So what are
TV?
Okay. I don't know if I'm on Roku. I know I'm on Alexa. I'm on about 17 different platforms. Actually, I stopped counting. I just let it go. I've been doing this for off and on for about since 2019, but I've not done a lot because I took a year during the pandemic, which is funny because you think everybody else took the pandemic and they did multi shows. I did less shows during the pandemic. Well, because a lot of times I've got now into doing interviews like we're doing right now, but most of the time I like face-to-face interviews that we sit around and you tell your story. And obviously during the pandemic, we couldn't do that. So it kind of really, and just people, I just couldn't get the guests that I want. So I took a year and a half off. And then I started recording last July, and I recorded July, and I ran my shows starting January 1st, and then I did it until about April, and then I took another month off, and then I've been back, and I've been getting a lot of guests. So I've been, I'm pretty well booked. Like this show won't air for about 5 weeks from this day of recording. So because I've got like four or five already in the can. So, but going back to you is dealing with your struggles and stuff like that, and that led you into your podcasting life and stuff. What are some of the topics that you talk about on that podcast? Because I want to put a link to that podcast so other people can hear that. But what are some of the things you guys discuss on that show?
Well, actually, this is my third podcast I've been on since the Coyoteman Show Network.
Okay.
And the first one I was on the Bookbreakers Podcast with my publisher. And the second one was What a Difference a Day Makes podcast, and his name is Robert Rolack. And the second podcast, the topics that we talk about, I try to bring on guests that will help the youth, because even though when I was a teenager, I ran away from home for like 5 days. So I want to bring on guests that can teach the youth how to be successful in their careers. Mm-hmm. We bring on like different teens or like young adults. We just had one like 2 weeks ago. They had a concert. I had an interview first, and we had a concert. They were actually a group that sing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I just try to bring on guests that, to help the youth in the community, make them know that they can have any career they want to do, and just to keep things positive.
Okay. Cool. Yes. That's good. I've been working with youth for many years, so that's good. I'm glad that somebody else is doing, something good with the youth and helping them out, because they need good role models. They need good support. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're not getting it from their home. So they look for it somewhere else, good or bad. That's why gangs become very popular, because if they're not getting love from their friends or family, they're going to go find somebody that accepts them for who they are. And that could be gang related. And that's a whole nother story for another day. Gang related and then sex trafficking. It's a big thing right now. It's really, people are, I know people that are going after the sex traffickers all over the country and all over the world, actually. And so but you never heard about it. You think about it. It's like I'm near Disney. You would think that Disney, a pure, wholesome family thing. They say that's one of the most worst sex trafficking locations in the country.
Not either.
Yeah, it really is. And, people, these sex traffickers go after places like football games and they look for different youth that are acceptable. It's kind of like, if you ever know, like the wild, like the animals, they look at a pack of animals and they're prey, they're looking at attacking them. They'll look for the weakest, the one that's straying behind and that's not with everybody else. And that's ones they go after. So that's what as these sex traffickers, people are, preying on people that are not, accepted or something like that, or they're not with the pack. So that's good that you're dealing with the youth. I like that. I like to see all kinds of people. So that is what you're currently doing on podcasting. And you wrote 3 books. You already told me about one of them. What's the other 2 that you have written?
Well, my first book was called Just a Thought, and my publisher was Barbie M. Johnson. That's my first book. My second book was The Hopeful Romantic. It's another poetry book. And this time it was by Kelly Cruz. And it's actually giving the audience and myself hopeful tips that we can still have healthy, hopeful relationships.
Okay, cool. Now, what's the third one? Okay, there's the third one. What's the third one?
Oh, the third one is My Journey Here Was Not Easy.
Ah.
And it's actually my life story.
Is that your story about your life?
Yeah, my life story, yes.
Okay. Now, where can people find these books?
Yes, my first book, Just a Thought. Most times I just go on the website and just buy copies of that one. But my second book, The Hopeful Romantic, and My Journey Here Was Not Easy, the books and the ebooks are on Amazon.com.
Okay. All right. And if you send me, I'll look them up. But if you send me the links to that, like if I was going to buy one, say, here's the link, go to this and you can buy my book. I will put that in the show notes. And I also will put that on your guest page so people can find you. So they'll see you and they'll say, oh, I want to look that book up. And they just hit the button. So again, I'm a promoter. I've always been a promoter. It's about you. And I want people to find you and find, information that you have. And stuff like that, and so I know where to go. So I know this would be not a super long conversation, but it would be inspirational. It would be inciting. What else would you like to say to the audience that's listening right now? A little bit about your life, a little bit more about how they can get a hold of you, stuff like that. In closing, basically. So what else would you have?
Yes, because I love to take pictures. I think I'm very spoiled since I've been on the Coyoteman Show Network. So I'm on Instagram. Actually, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, but I have 2 accounts, but I forgot my passcode.
I've done that too. I have.
I'm still on there, but you might see me twice.
I think I found your Instagram. I don't know right now because I'm looking at my computer and I don't want to go over to my other computer. But I'll look and see. Again, I've been learning doing this myself. That when people send, they use like an @ sign, like at the Millennium Beat, and I says that doesn't help me out because I have to do because I have to check the links out. I have to make sure they work. Yeah. So it's a lot easier. I tell people to give me the HTTP, / www, Tisha Winkler, .com type of thing. And it's just a link. They just click it and they go to it. It's this @ sign stuff. I don't even know how to use it. Because everything I have is at the Millennium Beat except for Twitter, which is at the Millennium _ no, not at, it's at Millennium _ Beat, because Twitter has always been this way. You can't put a long name on that, where everything else is branded, even though you don't really say it, the Millennium Beat, so that way it's easy for people. But I do have the website, millenniumbeat.com, just in case somebody, because most people say, oh, they leave the word "the" off, but I'm branded everything because you really want, when you're branding something, you want to have on all social medias pretty much the same. That way it's easy for people to find. As I said, Twitter, you can't really do it there. And then everywhere else, I did the millenniumbeat.com. So, all right, cool. So, check out your so I can put it in the show notes. And you say you do it live on Saturdays. All right.
I do. Yes.
So I'm going to put the link up. So tell it to me right now, and then I'll put it on the screen in post-production. what is this? If I'm sitting there listening to you right now speak and I want to listen to that podcast on Saturday, what time is it first it airs live? Eastern, right? Eastern time?
Yes, Eastern Standard Time at 12:30 on the Coyote Show Network. Yes.
Okay, so you have to go to the Coyote Show Network.
Yes, you have to download the app or either go on the computer and look it up.
Okay.
You can download the app like on the Google Store and you'll see the shows.
Okay, so and the show will be there that they'll find the show and the stuff like that. So
yeah.
All right, I'll put a link to so you guys can download that, the show and stuff like that. So all right, Tisha, thank you very much for being on the show today. I know it was short and quick, but we got some great information. So it was really good to meet you. And I'll be sending you some information on when this thing will air. But everybody else, thanks for joining the Millennium Beat. I appreciate y'all being here. And we'll see you next week for some topic shows or some more interviews. So see you next week. Take care, everybody.
This has been a Millennium Beat LLC production. Views and opinions of the guest are not always the views and opinions of the Millennium Beat LLC. Check us out on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and TikTok at the Millennium Beat, or on Twitter at Millennium_Beat. If you would like to partner with us to reach the world, go to our website for more information. You can go to themillenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. We couldn't do all we do without your support. The Millennium Beat just updated our website from the ground up. Check it out at themillenniumbeat.com, or you can get there by using millenniumbeat.com or tmb2000.net, where you'll be redirected to the millenniumbeat.com's homepage. I want to thank Mass Inbound for their awesome work on our website. If you're looking for somebody to build your site, I recommend them. You can reach them at massinbound.com. That is massinbound.com. These are some of the things that you can find on our website. Homepage. You can watch our latest YouTube video or listen to our audio podcast. Also listed are some of the platforms our audio podcast is on. You'll find out when the next podcast will air and who the guest will be. On the top right, you will find two red buttons, Learn How to Help and Become a Guest. Under Learn How to Help, you can become a partner, sponsor, contributor, or contribute to the future Millennium Bus. You can give one time or monthly recurring. The choice is yours. The other button is Be a Guest. Click it, go to the form, and fill it out, and we will get back to you. We would love to hear your story. Click the About Us drop-down where you'll find stats, where we are reaching people, and to find more information on our sponsors. Click on the podcast drop-down, then click on the calendar tab where it will tell you when the shows will air and who will be on them. Or if you need to know about any meetups of the Millennium Beat staff, partners, or listeners. Also, there might be on the calendar an event at which the Millennium Beat staff will be at. Click the Guest tab for all previous guests, links to their website, social media pages, and any store they might have. Click the Forms drop-down. There you'll find a release, Be a Guest, or Become a Sponsor form.